Hey everyone, it's Emily. It's no secret that we're entering into the last leg of the Nintendo Switch's life cycle. And it's going to be a very interesting time for collectors because historically, whenever we see a new console being phased out, a lot of those games tend to be very rare and expensive once they're gone. So something that I've been doing lately is compiling a list of all the Nintendo Switch games that I've yet to purchase that I'm still somewhat interested in, and trying to narrow that down to something that's a definitive list that's a bit more obtainable than the current state of it. I started compiling multiple lists both on pricecharting.com as well as Amazon, just to kind of gauge of what titles that I missed out on in the past or that might be coming out within the next few months that I may want to get. And after doing this, my pricecharting.com wish list ended up being over 125 games, which is insane. I'm not going to be buying 125 more Switch games. I already have plenty. Despite forming a gigantic list that is definitely probably going to be unattainable for me, I did find this process overall pretty helpful with helping me prioritize which titles I want to grab before they may become a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. There's always so much speculation about which games on a particular console will end up being super rare and super expensive down the line. So don't take this video as me kind of speculating in that aspect, because clearly I do not own some sort of crystal ball and will be able to predict the future in any way. But I do think there's a lot of ways to make an educated guess about which games that may be ones that are worth seeking out sooner rather than later compared to other titles. So I kind of just want to talk about my thought process when it comes to prioritizing which games I want to get a hold of and which games I feel comfortable kind of lowering on the list of ones to grab right away. So I'm going to switch over to the computer shortly, but I first wanted to talk about how I tend to prioritize my games and just my general collecting habits. For some added context. So I am someone who likes to collect and also play my games. And so my number one priority is always going to be buying games that I intend to play someday. And definitely try to buy the games that I look forward to playing the most as my top priority. However, I do like to consider other factors when it comes to collecting, like the price point and whether it makes sense to wait for a sale or if something is going to get bought up really quickly. So it makes more sense to maybe pre-order or buy soon after launch rather than wait. And I am also someone who likes some what are called niche genres. So JRPGs I think are still rather niche in the world of game collecting, as well as a lot of visual novels, some indie releases, and certain types of platformers and action adventure games. So historically, it's not super uncommon for the more niche genres like visual novels and some indies and JRPGs to not be as much in circulation. So now I'm going to move over to my Amazon wish list, and I do like to use Amazon as a way to help me figure out how I want to prioritize different games and, as you see here, different consoles. And right now I'm going to focus on new releases, so games that came out in 2024 or are planned to come out in 2025. Because this is sort of the window that historically, whenever a console is seeing its last leg, they tend to print fewer of these types of releases. So it's very difficult to determine whether or not this is going to be the same for when we transition from the Switch to the next Nintendo console. Part of me thinks it's probably going to be less of an issue because it's most likely the next Nintendo console is going to be backwards compatible. But again, this kind of known historical fact is not something to 100% ignore. So I wanted to share my current wish list, and this wish list is probably not totally complete. I'm sure there's plenty of games missing on here. Like we don't have the new upcoming Zelda on here because I couldn't find the Amazon listing for it, and kind of other games like that. But what you do see here at the top place, because I do like to use these wish lists as a way to rank my priorities. So you see that the newly announced Ys remake game is currently sitting at the top of the list. And the reason why I have it positioned here is because I am a big Falcom collector and I like the Ys games quite a bit. And Xseed is publishing a limited edition. And while I don't think this limited edition is going to run out of stock anytime soon before pre-orders end, I do want to kind of secure my copy just to have that security, because this is a franchise I do enjoy collecting and I want to just make sure I secured the limited edition, and it's at a great price point right now at $60. The next game I have listed here is Unicorn Overlord, and this is the latest from Vanillaware, and I really love Vanillaware's titles, so this is of course ranked very high, and I do also love my tactical RPGs, so that's why it's currently at position 2. And the reason why I haven't purchased this yet, despite it releasing a few months ago, is I've been noticing the trend with a lot of Atlas titles that they tend to reduce their prices substantially fairly soon after release. So this particular game has gone on sale multiple times over the last month or so, around the $30 price point, and I really want to secure it for around there. And I don't really see it running out of stock anytime soon and going out of print, because I've noticed a lot of Atlas titles, they kind of overprint their games and then greatly reduce their price for whatever reason. So I'm hoping to get this probably before Black Friday just to secure my copy, and hopefully around the $30, $25 price point would be amazing. As we go through this list here, you'll notice that I do have some games on here that I'm probably not going to get on the Switch, but I'm thinking about it. One example of this is Ys 10 Nordics. This is another Ys game that I'm super excited for, that's coming out this fall. I'm actually intending to get the PS5 Collector's Edition from the NISA website. Right now this is more of a placeholder and me considering whether or not I want to double dip on this game, because I've been doing that for most of my Falcom titles. If you scroll a little bit further down, you'll notice that Trails Through Daybreak is also listed here. I already have the PS5 version in hand, and this is another one I'm considering double dipping on, but I'm still not sure if I want to do that quite yet. But this is probably something I shouldn't prioritize because I already own the game on another console that I'm currently playing. So I wouldn't be surprised if both of these get removed from this list in the next month or so. But again, they're kind of just here as placeholders before I commit to my decision. And there's a lot of other great titles that I'm excited for, like Dragon Quest III, the HD 2D remake, as well as the latest Ace Attorney games, both the one that released earlier this year and the upcoming one. And to kind of save time, I'm not going to go through every single game and tell you why I'm prioritizing it. Again, this list is mostly composed of games I'm interested in, and then I try to rank them loosely of which ones I want to buy sooner rather than later, mostly because I want to play them sooner rather than later, but also because I think they may go out of stock. For example, I think Outer Wilds is one that won't be hugely stocked. I could be, of course, wrong about this, but this is one I would rather get sooner rather than later because this is an amazing game and I do want to own it. Same for A Space for the Unbound, and as well as Read Only Memories games. Right now I just have Narrow Diver on here. I do want to get the first game as well. But yeah, I'm just going to scroll through this so you guys could see kind of what games I've been eyeing and get a sense of how I'm kind of prioritizing these. So you'll see a lot of JRPGs on here, as well as some indies that are pretty popular. So I think the popular indies won't run out of print anytime soon, but again, you never know. As well as some of the big Nintendo IPs. I don't think those are going to be super limited unless it's some sort of remaster. Then maybe, because we kind of saw that with a few from the 3DS console, where some of those got really expensive. But yeah, those are kind of examples of some of the newest releases that I've been keeping my eyes on because, again, historically we've seen certain games just not be as massively produced towards the end of the life cycle for a console compared to some of the earlier releases. So this is my other Switch wish list, and these contain games that released prior to 2024. Now this is probably also not exhaustive and complete, and I'm probably missing some things here or miscategorized some other things, but this kind of just helps me organize what games have been kind of on my radar that are maybes, and some that are I definitely want to get that are at the top of the list. So if you scroll through here, you'll see that Star Ocean, The Second Story R, Bayonetta Origins, Harvestella, Dragon Quest Monsters, as well as some other visual novels are kind of at my top priorities right now. And ones I want to grab, I think some of the science adventure VNs, I may have missed the mark, at least for Amazon, so I need to look at some other retailers before maybe they get a little bit more difficult to find. So this kind of helps me gauge, again, kind of what things I should be looking for, and if something goes on sale, that's also really nice. But yeah, for the most part, that's what most of these top games look like. And then I kind of start to get into some maybes that I maybe want to get, and some other genres of games I don't typically play that look interesting to me that I may want to try. But again, I haven't fully committed because again, there's so many games on the Switch that I really need to kind of limit myself to what I want to pick up, especially since I already have such a large collection. And so just a few more examples, and yeah, this one's miscategorized. That should be a new release. To again give you an idea, and ones I've been looking at, I probably should go through here and edit it because again, I don't see myself buying all these games. But it's good to kind of look and get an idea of what's available and kind of go from there. And which ones are already kind of out of stock on Amazon, to give you an idea of something that I feel like is worth hunting down for or not. So some of these I've kind of decided I didn't really need. For example, this double pack by NS America, I saw that Video Games Plus was doing a reprint of it, but I ultimately decided not to go for it because I didn't really see myself playing or buying another first-person dungeon crawler, since I have so many in my backlog on other systems that I should probably get to first. Even though this is considered an expensive and rare game, but it's not one that I think if I were to include it in my collection, I would feel, I guess, more happy if you kind of do the Marie Kondo sort of assessment there. So again, I find these kind of lists just really useful for me to get an idea of what I want to prioritize, which games I probably don't need to necessarily get on the Switch. There might be some alternatives like on the PS4 or other upcoming modern systems. And if you're someone who also plays games digitally, if these prices are kind of out of whack, then it might be something to consider getting on Steam, especially on sale. So I hope me sharing my Amazon wish list helps either give you some insight of some strategies to prioritize your own wish list for the Nintendo Switch and figure out which games you may want to prioritize over others, because again, you may not collect the same games as me, or also want to prioritize games the same way as I do. But I think these strategies could be used universally to anyone who enjoys collecting. So I hope hearing about my thought process and seeing which games that I really want to prioritize in the next few months is helpful for some of you, and kind of helps you start thinking of which games you may want to prioritize if you're also a Switch collector. And I also hope this video kind of helped highlight that a lot of the games that are coming on the Switch, they're not ones that we need to kind of rush out and buy right away, because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the future of obtaining them for reasonable prices, either on the Nintendo Switch or potentially on some other modern console. Now, this is of course all speculation on my part, and we've seen historically how a lot of games, once they kind of switch over to a new console, get left behind, and especially ones that are rolled out towards the end of the life cycle, and they tend to kind of raise up in prices. We've seen this in many different consoles over the course of the last few decades, but it's kind of difficult to assume that that same trend is going to be the same for the Nintendo Switch now, because I do feel like the video game collecting community and just how people collect games nowadays is a little bit different than, say, 10 years ago. So it's possible that we may be comparing apples with oranges, with trying to use historical precedents to make our predictions for the future. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling of how I go about prioritizing which video games to add to my collection. Now let me know down below what Switch games that you're interested in prioritizing in the next few months or year from now, or if you have a different thought process of how you kind of go about this. I'd love to hear it down below. And until my next video, bye guys.